What's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to the show, guys. Today, we are going to be talking about the drop that we saw on Bitcoin yesterday. As you probably witnessed in the afternoon yesterday, at least here on the Eastern Seaboard, we saw Bitcoin drop all the way down to $42,500. It's currently sitting just shy of 43. It seemingly is that we have double bottomed right here around 42, and it's very interesting because if you look back a year ago today, January 6th of 2021, Bitcoin was in the process of setting a new all-time high at $42,000, and today we're pulling back and back testing it. There are many reasons why I tell you that $42,000 is an insanely important level for Bitcoin. We're not only talking about the fact that 1 year ago today, that's exactly where Bitcoin was, and if we drop any lower, we'll see a year-over-year decline in price action, but there's also a longer-term uptrend. There's also an indicator called the RVT that we're going to look at, and we're going to be looking at a lot more RSI, MACD, all kinds of things. We're going to bring you the technical breakdown of where Bitcoin is, why it dropped, and where it's going. We got a lot of content to jump into today, guys. But before we do, I want to introduce everybody. Shout out to TA10 for hosting the show twice this week. How you doing, man? Thank you so much.
I'm still hanging tight, man. I again, didn't think I was gonna be back in that seat that soon, but you know, I'm ready for anything. So
heck yeah, I'm glad you were there, man. Yeah, for everybody who doesn't know, I had a little sniffle yesterday. Nothing to really worry about, but I decided to stay home just to make sure that nothing got passed around. Don't worry, it's not the thing that we can't speak of. But we're also joined as always by Smay. How are you doing, Smay?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing pretty freaking good. I went to the gym today. I'm very happy. I had to get some water. And I would like to take this moment to shout out 3 special members. I'm going to go ahead and shout out April Sue, Army Piper, and Jackson Ira. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best.
Thank you so much to our
guess
members.
what I have? I have a little nugget for our members right now. You ready?
Ooh.
A little nugget. Yesterday, we got to have a great time doing our members Q&A. I know it was short notice, so a lot of you guys didn't show up. But guess what? We're doing another one on the 13th, guys.
Woo!
The 13th. So show up. It's going to be right after following the usual morning stream. If you're a member, if you want to be a member, join the membership and you come check out, do a Q&A, ask us all the little juicy questions.
A week from today?
A week from today. The 13th, yes.
Come on.
All right.
Interesting. Cool.
Yep, there you go.
Well, we're also joined as always by the research team. How you guys doing? Shout out to Kelly, my friend.
I'm doing great, man. You and I both had our little relaxation vacation yesterday.
Relaxation vacation. I like that.
No, we sometimes you just have to check in with yourself and with your body, and we just did that, and we got to sit there and watch Tim and Tim and T-Stream over here and Smay, of course, do an excellent show yesterday, and today. I had a great time putting the show together again today because there's so many great on-chain metrics and so many great signals we're going to be talking about here in just a few moments, and we're going to allay some of that fear you might have because it might be just the opposite of that. So we'll get into that in a second.
Well, T-Shroom, what you been up to, man? Good to see you also.
Yes, it is awesome to be here every single time. Genuinely, I say that. I am very overwhelmed these days because I'm getting everything prepped, paperwork, clothing, and my mind prepped to go on my 2-month vacation. And it's very overwhelming to juggle everything in my life.
I love how you call it a vacation. Does the audience know what it is, or is that a
well, I think we discussed on the member stream.
Know what it is? Oh,
well,
that's a good reason to join the membership program, so you know where he's going.
I feel like we owe it to that name, no, because I don't know.
I feel like they know. Yeah, well, guys, let's keep moving here. Let's go ahead and tease some of the things that we're going to talk about today. We got a really interesting comment here, and this might actually be what happened. George X said, did Borat shut down Kazakhstan's internet when it went down yesterday? Maybe, I don't know, but in case you're wondering what happened yesterday, there were some protests, some unrest in Kazakhstan. A lot of the internet infrastructure went down. There was a lot of things happening in the political parties, and it actually shut down a lot of the Bitcoin mining, so the hash rate dropped a little bit, and that's one of the things that caused the drop. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. We're also going to be talking about NASDAQ. We got some interesting things there, and Bitcoin dominance has dropped to the lowest levels in 3 years, and I'm going to tell you why I actually think that's a good thing right now. So let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinMarketCap. We'll take a look at that market dominance here, and then we will keep on moving straight through the market watch, jump into super chats, and then we'll be talking about Bitcoin here in exactly 13 minutes. So let's go ahead and do it. Looking at Bitcoin's market dominance here, we can see that currently it is sitting at 39.65%, or even more accurately, right up to the date, is 39.8%. So if we look at the last several months, we have seen that Bitcoin has pulled back constantly down to this 40 level, but the last time that Bitcoin's market dominance was actually below 40 for any period of time was actually in 2018 around May. Now, I remember when this was happening because a lot of people during the 2018 bear market were returning back into Bitcoin actually from their altcoins. There was a major altcoin season at the end of 2017. A lot of people sold their Bitcoin. We went from 85% market dominance. They sold it into smaller cap projects. This is when Ethereum started getting big. This is when things like XRP started getting big. I'm talking about the Litecoins of the world, the Bitcoin Cashes of the world, EOS, Neo, all these projects, IOTA, Icon, all these big projects that were huge back in 2017. They gobbled up a lot of the market dominance. But then as the bear market continued on through 2018, Bitcoin returned a lot of that market dominance to itself. Now we've seen the exact same thing happen. We've seen Bitcoin lose market dominance to the altcoins, and the fact that it is still losing market dominance to the altcoins, I would say is actually a very good thing, and here's why. Whenever you see Bitcoin lose market dominance to the altcoins, it means that people are confident they're so confident in Bitcoin that they're willing to take an even bigger risk and invest in the altcoins. It means the maturity of the space is growing, and that's what we are seeing happen right now. The space is maturing more than it ever has, and so people are willing to put their money other places than just Bitcoin. That is a very good sign because, as I've said many times, guys, price follows fundamental intrinsic value, not the other way around. We want to make sure that the space is developing fundamentally, and then the price will continue. Bitcoin has been trading around $40,000 to $65,000 for the last year because we rallied so fast, the price got so far ahead, and now the fundamentals are catching back up. It's just the way it works, guys. Markets are cyclical. We're going to talk about it more here in a little bit. Bitcoin sitting at $43,000 right now. It is sitting down about 7%. Ethereum's down to $3,400, down 10%. We're going to talk about this in a second. I've mentioned for about a month now that there was a support level of down around $3,300 on Ethereum, that if it broke bearish, it would have to go down and test, and that's where it went to. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Solana's down to $150. If we have time, and actually we will be looking at Solana here in a second, we'll be looking at that. $150, a very interesting level on that network as well. Looking at the biggest gainers, we only have a few of them. Ape NFT jumped into the top 100. I don't believe this was top 100 before today. It's up 8%. I'd have to look more into that project before I could tell you much about it. Looks like we also have Decentraland up pretty well, and then all the other stable coins. So it's a pretty red day across the board. ICP's down, Theta's down, LivePeer are down, and a few others. But let's go ahead and jump straight on in here to our technical analysis on some of our smaller coins and projects that we don't give attention every single day, but we like to look at every once in a while. The first one we're going to look at here is eGold. eGold is a project that you guys are always talking about, one that has a lot of community support, and its chart is actually very interesting. Why? It was in an ascending wedge right here, and then not that long ago, back in November, we broke bullish out of it. eGold rallied all the way up to $555, and it has been in a falling wedge ever since. From that all-time high, it has pulled back 65%, and these falling wedges, as you probably know, typically break to the upside. So what I'm looking at right now in eGold is I'm trying to figure out, is eGold going to pull back down, test this support zone again, and then bounce and break to the upside? Well, there's reason to believe that it might, one of those being the RSI. You can see we pulled back down on the RSI to around 32, 33 a couple of times. It looks like we might be double bottoming down there, but the issue is we're seeing a bearish MACD cross coming in on the daily chart. Here's the problem, guys. A lot of what's going on with eGold right now is looking like it is trying to find a bottom, but it hasn't found a bottom yet. One of the things I'm going to talk about here in a minute on Bitcoin is that Bitcoin having this final capitulation down to $43,000 may actually be a very good thing because it means that we found a bottom. I don't get necessarily the same exact feeling out of eGold. I personally think that there might be a little bit more room to move to the downside on that, but do be paying attention to this descending triangle pattern because if it breaks bullish, there is absolutely a trade to be made there. But now let's go ahead and talk about Solana because Solana is one that has a very interesting, it's in a very interesting position right now. So if you'll remember to earlier on this month, last month in December. I can't believe it's January already, guys. In December, around December 13th, 14th, I told you guys there were two major levels of support to look at on Solana. We still have all the charting up. This is from all of this charting that's on our Solana charts from like a month ago. We were looking at the fact that $150 was a strong level of support on Solana. We got that not only from historical market data, but also from a spike on the VPVR, which we could see right here around $152. And then there was also the beginning of this zone right here around $150. So $150 was also a big even, and I told you guys that $150 might not be a bad place to enter the first of a few trades laddering into the market, dollar cost averaging, trying to catch the bottom. Some people probably bought right here and did relatively well. The issue is the entire cryptocurrency market has been relatively stagnant these last couple of weeks, and so Solana did not manage to set a new all-time high above $250. Instead, we've set a new lower high. In doing so, it has entered a downtrend over the last couple of weeks, and right now it's retesting 150. The issue here is that there's a lot of bearish momentum across the board in cryptocurrency markets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the like, and Solana right now looks like it's going to break $150. In my opinion, I think it probably will, and I think you're going to see $130 Solana. I'm not saying to short this market because I think we've already gone through a lot of the bearishness that we're going to go through. That's the same reason that I'm not short Bitcoin right now, because I feel like I'd be shorting the bottom, but I'm also not long Bitcoin right now, and I'm not long Solana because I don't know where the bottom is. I can't tell you for certain, okay, the bottom for Bitcoin's 42 or 40. I can't tell you for certain the bottom is at 130 or 135 or 125 for Solana. What I can tell you is that after we have a bottom and after we bounce, there will be confirmation signals that we're going into a new uptrend. After we have those, I will tell you, because believe me, I'm going to be very excited when that occurs. So guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to inform you on everything crypto, make sure you guys know exactly what's going on in the cryptocurrency space, keep you up to date on the technical analysis, and make sure that you don't miss a single opportunity. And we also want to teach you not what to think, but how to think along the way. We want to inform you and then educate you while we're doing it. Let's go ahead and jump on to one of our sponsors, guys. Today's show is actually brought to you by Lorenzo, who is our CPA. I'm very, very excited to be bringing you him. He is our CPA. Dozens of you guys have started working with him since we started collaborating with Lorenzo. As you guys know, tax season just ended, but your cryptocurrency taxes are very important, and it's actually very complicated how you have to deal. It's not complicated how you have to deal with your taxes, but there's a lot that goes into the taxes on Bitcoin. I know you have a lot of questions about how do you defer taxes? How do you pay as little taxes on Bitcoin as possible legally? How do you report all of your trades? How do you log all of your trades? How do you do all of these things in the tax world? I can't tell you. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have the legal authority to tell you that kind of stuff. Lorenzo does. He's a CPA, and you can get if you check the link down below, I believe you can schedule a free 15-minute call to consult with him about your situation. He's worked with a lot of very high net worth individuals, and he would be more than happy to help you as well. With that said, let's go ahead and move straight on into a period of reading some super chats. We might have a couple by now, do we?
I don't know. Do we have any
Full
t-shirts?
screen.
Not really.
We have a good question that just got in. I was actually typing an answer to it, but I can answer for him right now.
Sure.
What I'll need is, Jebb, for you to go to his chart, and you obviously can answer this as well. It is from Ray T. Look at the Bitcoin weekly chart. So if you go to the weekly chart, he's asking what are the thoughts we have on the bearish RSI divergence. And I was literally in the middle of typing this, but I can delete my message. I don't think that is bearish RSI divergence, because when you're looking at the peak that I think he's looking at, that's a peak actually on January 4th. Of 2021. What's the price at that point? The price is 37.7. All right. Then you go a little bit lower to where we actually have some of those peaks. That's where we have bearish RSI divergence. Sure enough, what do we have? We have a bearish move down in May which is what we had through the months of June and July, that accumulation phase. That was the consequence of bearish RSI divergence. We can't just hold that number back in January of RSI being at 92 forever. It has to at some point play out. It has played out. So pretty much what we're doing is erase those metrics. Yep. Let's look forward. Start now looking in July of 2021. Do we see any bearish RSI divergence on the weekly chart? Nope. Absolutely not.
Nope. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, Tim. There was some bearish RSI divergence back in February, March of last year, and we talked about it on the channel at the time, and it did lead to a major drop on Bitcoin. We're talking 40% kind of drop, and well, not quite 40%. What was it? No, I take it back. It was over 40%. It was almost 60%. Bitcoin had a major drop there down to around $32,000, and that, as he said, I believe has played out personally. Now, we also saw that there's bearish RSI divergence right here, and it took a little bit longer for it to play out. I mean, take a look at this, guys. On the weekly chart, we saw bearish RSI divergence that ended around Valentine's Day. It didn't play out until the beginning of May. So you have to be patient on some of these things. And that's kind of the point we want to make with this stream also. We've been telling you guys, bullish on-chain, bullish on-chain, bullish on-chain, bullish on-chain. It's all still there. So Bitcoin has dropped $3,000, yes, but those on-chain metrics could take 2, 3, 4, 5 months to really start pushing through and causing the price to move. That's one of the points we want to make, is have patience. I'm not saying it's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 months. I think we're going to bottom out a little bit sooner than that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, again, I don't think we had any super chats. That was just a question that was asked in chat. So.
That's a great question.
Yep.
That was a great question. Do we have any other super chats or anything?
T-Shim, did you see anything else in chat?
Negative.
See,
no, I think
doesn't have to be a super chat. Let's see. What do we got? Looks like Dennis Pizarka said, I have Lorenzo. Shout out to him. Good job, Dennis. Tell us what you think. Oh, and by the way, yes, I know how to pronounce Kazakhstan. I did mispronounce that. My apologies to the sovereign nation of Kazakhstan. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep moving on here into Bitcoin. Let's see if we can get about 800 likes on the video in the next minute. I think we can get 800 likes on the video, to 800 likes on the video in the next 8 minutes. The reason that we ask for that, guys, is because it does help to support our channel in the YouTube algorithm, and whenever you help to support our channel, it allows us to continue making this content for you for free here on YouTube, because we put a lot of work into this, and we want to continue improving it, not just bringing it to you, but continue improving it, because we genuinely care about your financial freedom. That's the vision of our company, is to help you achieve financial freedom. It has been for as long as I've been running this channel. For the last 4.5 years, it has not changed. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to Bitcoin here. And we're going to jump through some technical analysis. Now, I know my chart looks a little bit, I believe the term is spaghetti, but I'm going to break this down for you, and then here in a second, we're going to go onto a clean chart. What I want to show you here, guys, is that we had 4 major support levels here that we talked about, and Bitcoin is currently broken through all of them. It's not that those levels were invalid, it's just that Bitcoin had a massive squeeze and dropped straight through them. So I do just want to show you that there was quite a bit of bearishness yesterday, and I think a lot of it came from FUD, and we're going to talk about all of that. But the point is, we did see some bearishness, and we did see a break to the downside. And if you'll remember to about a week ago, I talked about how, or not even a week ago, about 3 days ago, I think it was when I was here on Tuesday, 2 days ago, we had a bearish bear pennant right here. We had a symmetrical triangle pattern, sitting at the bottom of a downtrend. And if we extrapolated that out, that gave us a price target of $40,700. Bitcoin didn't quite go down to $40,700, but it did have a pretty substantial drop. And that's what technical analysis is going to be able to do for you guys. It's going to be able to give you warnings that something like this is happening. I told you guys, hey, look, I don't know if this is going to happen, but we are seeing a prediction of $40,700 right now. Keep that in the back of your mind. That's what we talked about on Tuesday. But let's go ahead and go to a cleaner chart here. And let's look at some long-term price action. So in the title of today's stream, we talked about how there is a very important, very extremely important signal flashing on Bitcoin. And I want to show you exactly what that is, because we believe that if we say something in a thumbnail or in a title, we want to tell you what it means. So let me explain exactly what I mean by that. Let's look at the last couple of years of market data on Bitcoin. Take a look at the last bull market. What happened? Bitcoin went into a massive bull run, and then after that bull run, it entered a descending triangle pattern. What do we know about descending triangle patterns? They typically break to the downside. Now, sometimes they can act as pennants and lead to a break to the upside, but more often than not, even if they're at the end of an uptrend, a descending triangle pattern will break to the downside. Now, on the flip side, look at 2020. What happened? Bitcoin went absolutely parabolic. We literally grew 1,700% from bottom to top in under a year. That was a remarkable movement on Bitcoin. That was, quite frankly, a lot faster than I thought it would happen. I thought Bitcoin, 2 years ago, I thought Bitcoin would be trading around $30,000 to $40,000 right now, and it'd be somewhere around all-time high. I did not think that Bitcoin was going to explode this quickly, but the reason it did is because of fundamental adoption, fundamental growth. So, what's the point here? Instead of Bitcoin ending, and I'm not saying we're at the end of a bear market, at the end of a bull market, I think we're in the middle of it. I'm going to show you why. Instead of running into a descending triangle pattern in a bull market, we actually have run into an ascending triangle pattern in a bull market. Notice we have an uptrend right here that I'm going to show you in some more resolution here in a minute. And we also have this flat zone of resistance right here. Bitcoin topped out at 65,000, then at 69,000. On the weekly chart, that might as well be the same top. Some people are going to call that a rising wedge. I personally would not, and just because I don't think it's wise to. This is much, much more akin to an ascending wedge, an ascending triangle pattern, especially with all the fundamentals that we have backing us up right now. So let's also establish a little bit more market structure here that we can build some conclusions off of. Remember what I said at the beginning of this stream. A year ago today, Bitcoin on January the 6th, 2021 was trading at, well, actually it was at $37,000, but on January the 8th, Bitcoin ran all the way up to $42,000 and set that as a new all-time high. So a year minus 2 days ago, Bitcoin set our current level, more or less, as an all-time high. That is very significant for a couple of reasons. Number one, if we drop below $42,000, that means we're going to have a year-over-year decrease in price action from 1 year ago to today. That would be interesting. That normally doesn't happen during a Bitcoin bull market. So that tells us that if we're going to continue the Bitcoin bull market, we're probably going to hold 42. I'm not saying we can't go below it. I would just be a little bit surprised if we did. because I do strongly, fundamentally believe that we're in a bull market based on all the data that we have. But it's not just that. We also have this uptrending level of support right here, as constituted by a low here on the 25th of November, here on the 20th of July, and then more recently, we've broken through it just a little bit, but I'm going to call that a touch. You know, it's not going to be perfect, especially when we're looking at a year and a half of data. This is on the log chart, by the way. So this is the framework that we're looking at here. I personally think what we're going to see Bitcoin do over the next 2 to 3 weeks is it's going to find a bottom that it's comfortable with. Maybe it needs to go down to 40,000. Maybe it needs to go down to 38,000. Maybe it needs to go down to 37,000. But I think we're going to find a comfortable bottom, probably around 40 to 42. I do think that we'll end up bottoming out around there for reasons we're going to discuss in a minute. From there, I think Bitcoin will bounce and we will continue on in the symmetrical triangle pattern as the markets tend to do, and then we will be pushing up towards 60, 70,000. At this point, that may take a lot longer than we originally thought. I thought that Bitcoin would be, and you know, full admission here, I thought that Bitcoin would be back up at $69,000, $70,000 maybe by the end of January. At this point, that's not really what it looks like. It looks like Bitcoin is going to need to find a confident bottom, and it is going to need to have a major shift in market sentiment. But by the way, we have a very big point on market sentiment coming up here in a second, so make sure you don't miss out on that, because you are not going to want to miss what we have to say about the Fear and Greed Index, the Beer and Greed Index. That's what we got here, guys, and we're going to be talking about why it is telling us that right now is an amazing buying opportunity. So with that said, let's go ahead and look here at some of our actual technicals as well. One of the things I want to show you on the weekly chart is that Bitcoin at the moment, not on the weekly, on the monthly chart, is that Bitcoin at the moment is also sitting right atop a major uptrending level of support on the RSI that has been in play ever since January the 1st of 2019. You can see there was a touch here at 43 on January 1st, 2019, then here on March 1st of 2020, and then right here it's around 55. So this is a technical, and we're going to look at fundamental and on-chain reasons, but this is a technical reason to believe that a bottom might be relatively close. Another thing to point out here is that we are now in our third month of red during a bull market. We're still in a bull market, guys. The sentiment is increasing, the retail adoption is increasing, all of these things are continuing to increase. Fundamentally speaking, this is still the definition of a bull market, excuse me. We are just seeing some volatility here. Nothing to really write home about and be worried about. We've seen 3 months of bearishness during a bull market before. In fact, we've seen it multiple times. And normally during a bull market, you're not going to see downtrend for more than 3 months. So I don't think we're going to see a whole lot more of downtrend. It might take 2, 3, 4 weeks, but moving into February, I think we're going to see at least a little bit of bullishness. Maybe not a crazy amount, but at least some. And the final thing I'll say here before we read the rest of the oscillators and everything is a little bit of a fundamental point, just looking at historical market structure. Guys, Bitcoin had a massive rally. We're talking north of 1,000%, where Bitcoin went from, you know, under $100 billion all the way up to where it sits right now, even on the drop at $800 billion. We added $1 trillion in market capitalization in a year. That is a crazy rally for a new market. Like, whenever the stock market adds $1 trillion in a year, that's a big deal. And we're talking about a new industry that we are already moving into the parabolic movement of where this market's going to go. And we're still reaping the consequences of this massive rally. Remember, whenever you rally too quickly, 2 things can happen. Either one, you plateau and you trade sideways for a long time, or you crash. We kind of did a little bit of both. We dropped 60% and we've been trading sideways. We've been plateauing. That's not a bad thing, guys. That's actually a very healthy thing. What we're looking at right now, this massive rally, then a plateau that lasts a proportional amount of time, looks very similar to what we did after the drop last year, the year before in 2020. It's so crazy to say that 2020 was the year before. We saw a rally from $4,000 all the way up to $10,000. That's $6,000 in 60 days. We traded sideways for a little while and we plateaued. That's what we're seeing right now, just on a larger scale. Should we be concerned about this? Did this lead into a bear market? No, it didn't. It led to a massive explosive movement, and the fundamentals are telling us that's what's going to happen. So I just want to encourage you on that. We have been trading sideways for the majority of 2021. That's not a bad thing. That actually means that we're giving time for the fundamentals of the space to catch up, and by the way, they are. I don't know if you noticed, but NFTs went from like $20 million in monthly volume to $2 billion in monthly volume. Blockchain gaming started to exist in 2021. The industry has grown so much that I'm not really concerned about it. Now, let's go ahead and take a look here at Lux Algo, because it is giving us some good insight. As you guys know, Lux Algo has said that we are in a downtrend from basically day one. We had a sell signal on the 16th of November, and we have been in a downtrend ever since. Lux Algo has done a phenomenal job over the last 2 months of telling us that we are in a downtrend and not giving us false hope whenever we thought we were going into an uptrend. We never saw a buy signal right here, guys. And I told you back in right around Christmas that since Bitcoin did not see a buy signal here, we need to be careful about getting ahead of ourselves. We would want to see Bitcoin go up to 53. Lux Algo did not tell us that we were going to go into an uptrend, and it was right to not do so. Now, we can also look down here on the 4-hourly chart, and this is where I really want to hone in here. Down here on the 4-hourly chart, we are seeing that the market is quite bearish, of course. We've seen Bitcoin pull back from $52,000 all the way down to $42,000, a $10,000 drop in the span of a week and a half. This sell signal that we saw on the 28th of December has continued, but in doing so, we have seen such a massive drop that the trend catcher literally jumped off a cliff. It moved from $48,000 down to $44,000, a $4,000 drop on trend catcher from Lux Algo in the span of just a couple of hours. In doing so, that means that if Bitcoin were even to return to where it started, up here around $47,000, we would probably see a confirmed uptrend start just because it has dropped so far on Lux Algo. And just because the price has dropped so far and Lux Algo has responded. So what I mean by that is that if Bitcoin does kind of the number that it did back here on December the 3rd, and it bottoms out and it has a big rally and it starts moving back up towards the high 40s, then we're going to see a confirmed uptrend come into play on the 4-hourly chart. And that could be the start of something really big. That could mean that we're putting a V-bottom in here. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that if it does, watch out for it, because Bitcoin has just had a major capitulation event. And if we are able to get some momentum to the upside because of that trampoline effect, you push down and then you're able to bounce back up, then that's exactly what we might see. Tim, I want to ask your opinion on this. What do you think about this drop? Do you think that this drop is the final capitulation that we need to see before we're able to start moving into a new uptrend? Or do you think that this is something we should be worried about? And are you expecting $37,000 to $40,000?
No, so this is what I'm kind of looking at right now, and to make this point, I need to clarify one thing. The volume is something to keep an eye on, and I've been saying this for a little bit of time, but I want to continue to clarify for you guys. So if you're on the 4-hourly chart, Jebb, I can kind of show you what's happening here.
Wait,
all right.
Are you on? I'm on Bitstamp. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm looking at.
Okay, cool. Because it changes.
You know, I mean, the truth is, just because of what's my chart, go to Coinbase, because that's what I've been charting. Bitstamp and Coinbase are not that different at the moment. So I'm just on Coinbase looking at it. So you guys are going to see that one really, really, really large bar of volume, right? What was that bar telling us? I actually was doing more digging on this, and Kelly, I sent this article to Kelly and Jebb last night. You can read it in full, but Kelly kind of highlighted different parts of it. But in that, it actually talks about, look at the fact that we just broke out of a descending triangle, right? Yep. So all these touches, we actually were starting to get a little bit of lower volume. But what does that tell us? The level of supply was being shook out, but what happens quite often in Wyckoff distribution, this is why I was saying, guys, we're going to have some candle bodies close below that 46, 45.7 and be a little closer to 42, is because what happens is that the institutions, they do a major push to get the price below that. So that massive volume bar is actually just opening up a whole new world of supply and putting supply back on so they can buy more of Bitcoin. What I'm looking for over the next couple of candles, and what I'm looking at, we've already set, I think, 4 of them since we've had this big dip. I'm actually looking, just so you guys know, over the next 8 hours to watch what the volume looks like. If that volume is high, I actually think we could go down to 39. Also on the weekly chart, that kind of backs it up. The Bollinger Band, the bottom of the Bollinger Band, looks like we could go as far as 39,000 and be at the bottom of the Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. But on the 4-hourly chart, if we can hold this level with low volume, what is happening is all the supply is being wasted up, and that's the buying pressure. That's the point right there to the institutions. This is the bottom. But if that volume stays high, what that communicates to the institutions is, no, a lot of people like to buy and sell right here. There's a lot of supply still happening. So what happens if there's still a lot of supply? The price has to go down, in which case we'd go to 39. So I'm not 100% certain yet if the spring is right here at 42 or if the spring's going to be at 39. But I am pretty certain that those are going to be the levels that we're looking at. So as we said in this title, 42 is really important. The fight's not over, but we are close. Can we hold this? Or better yet, will people just go ahead and sit on their Bitcoin? If you sit on your Bitcoin, if the whole world sits on that Bitcoin and Bitcoin becomes illiquid, That wastes the supply, and institutions will say, all right, that's it. That's all we can get for now. Let's raise the price. If that volume stays high, that's what's telling these institutions, no, there's a lot left here, and that's what will make the price go down to 39.
This is going to be a weird analogy, but has anybody ever played Kirby in this room? The you know, the Nintendo game? Smay, you have. You know how Kirby can like turn into like the 100-ton weight and he can't move? That's what we need to do in crypto. We need to turn into that 100-ton weight and not move. We need to bear down and we need to buckle up because, you know, a little storm's coming by. But guess what? We're gonna be fine. You know, we got movies. Christmas just happened, so, you know, we can't watch Christmas movies unless you're me because I like to watch Christmas movies all year. I guess you can make fun of me for that if you want. But my point is, let's not sell our Bitcoin. Let's not freak out, guys. I haven't sold a Satoshi. In fact, if I had any more money on the side that I want to put into Bitcoin, because I'm already very, very exposed to Bitcoin, I would be buying Bitcoin at these levels, and I would also buy if we dropped lower. I'm actually going to be looking at buying some of the altcoins that are dropping. Cardano's down around $1.23. You know, Ethereum's down around $3,400. I'm probably not going to buy any Ethereum, but I might buy some Cardano, and I think that that's what we need to be looking at for Bitcoin. Not at this as a, you know, a terrible thing that we need to be scared of, but looking at this as an opportunity to be loading up our bags, because when Bitcoin's trading at $1 million, you're not going to care what happened in the year of 2022. You're just going to be glad that you got some at any price, even if you got it at 42 instead of 39, or even if you got it at 39 instead of 30, or wherever the bottom is, guys. Heck, if the bottom was, and by the way, I am not saying this at all, so don't clip this and think that that's what I'm saying. I don't think the bottom's down at 25, but let's say the bottom was at 25. Let's say Bitcoin went down that low and you bought it at 40 and it went down to 25. So what? If it goes to $1 million, you're still up 25x from a $40,000 buy. So don't get too caught up in your exact buying opportunity for investments. Now, if you're trading, of course, is much more different. But if you're planning on being here for 5 years, 10 years like I am, just be careful about getting super particular over the level you buy in, because sometimes you're going to miss out on a good buying opportunity trying to find a great one, and you don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and move into some of Kelly's tweets here, actually, because this is a really interesting thing that he's put together here. You guys know what Fear and Greed Index is by now. I'll go ahead and show you a tweet here from Philip, Positive Crypto. You can see every single time the Fear and Greed Index goes very low, as it has in these previous drops in 2019, in March of 2020, and June, July of last year, 2020, and right now, Fear and Greed has dropped down to about 10 to 15. Right now, very recently, Fear and Greed is sitting down around 15. That is an extreme buy signal. I was actually on Around the Blockchain with Crypto Lifer yesterday, and he said, every single time that I buy when Fear and Greed Index is down around 10, 15, 20, 25, it has never once hurt me. He says, I'll put money in, I'll put money in, I'll put money in, and it has never once hurt me to buy when the Fear and Greed Index is that low. The Fear and Greed Index is a fantastic indicator. By the way, subscribe to Crypto Lifer. I had a great time with him yesterday on YouTube. And I do think that we are going to see the market bottom, and I do think we're going to see a rally. Could it be right now? Could it be a week from now? Could it be a month from now? Yes, but are we close to the bottom? I think absolutely. Kelly actually redid the Fear and Greed Index a little bit and named it the Smart Money Index. Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about your creation here?
Well, first I want to preface this with I'm not a graphics guru, but I was just looking at, I thought it was interesting looking at the Fear and Greed Index that, yes, of course, you're measuring the fear sentiment of the market and what's going on with the, you know, across the board, whether it be the crypto Twitter, all the different ways that they gauge the Fear and Greed Index. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people read that as like, almost like it's a time to sell or not a time to buy, because and obviously the fear is in the market. But at the end of the day, I think it's Warren Buffett. Is it Warren Buffett that says it? You know, when you buy when there's blood on the streets.
Yes, Warren Buffett says that.
And at the end of the day,
even if it's your own blood, he says.
Even if it's your own blood, because if there's a lot of fear in a market and everybody thinks the market's going to go down and it's going to go down further, that's when the best opportunities come to buy. And, you know, I have this sort of speculation, not speculation, but thought where people talk about, you know, if I had only bought Bitcoin back in 2011, well, 99% of people that would have bought Bitcoin back in 2011 wouldn't have it today. They wouldn't be the 500 millionaire or billionaire that they think, because you know the amount of volatility and swings that it had back and forth. So at the end of the day, it all comes back to when there's these huge swings, and also we see this massive upward price action over the last 13 years. Why are we worried that it dropped $6,000? It's gone up from $0 to $69,000. Who cares if it dropped $3,000? Especially in the scope of us still being in a bullish market structure.
Yeah.
So in a bullish market structure, it's down in extreme fear. I say no, extreme buy.
I really think that it's just very important for people to have perspective and to expand your time horizon, because if you're looking at the market right now and you're saying, oh my gosh, Bitcoin just dropped and it's been down for 2 weeks. Guys, zoom out. Look at the last 10 years. What has Bitcoin done in the last 10 years? Like, for real, I'm about to measure it for you, and I'm going to show you just to give you some perspective. In the last 10 years, Bitcoin has rallied, let's see here, 100,000, let's see, 92 million %. It is up 92 million %, and we're worried about it dropping 12. You know, I point that out because that's something I always struggle with. I'm like, oh my gosh, the market dropped. I don't want it to drop. I want it to go up because, you know, it's better when it goes up. It's always going up. You know, here's the deal. So you can clip this. Bitcoin goes up and it takes a break every once in a while. That's what the Bitcoin market structure is if you look at the last 10 years. Right now, we're just taking a little break, guys. Nothing to be worried about, for real. Don't get it overly complicated and twisted in your mind, because it's so easy to trick yourself into fudding, especially if you've been in the market for just a little while. I've been in the market for going on 5 years now, so I have seen market cycles and market cycles and market cycles. I've been here before, guys. I'm not worried about this, and you shouldn't be either. Tim, did you have something you want to add to that?
I just was even echoing some of the things you guys discussed last night around the blockchain. I don't watch that show that often. I watched last night, and I love the part where we got in the conversation. You guys got in the conversation about the concept of looking at the larger time frames. You know, we like to look at the smaller time frames to help you guys to see what's happening day in and day out. But sometimes that's to the detriment, because everyone's so focused on what candle bodies look like on the 4-hourly chart and the hour chart and the 15-minute chart that they forget, holy cow, actually, if I just take a deep breath and look at the weekly and the monthly, that when I'm looking at those candles, I'm going to see years. And that's when it's like, oh, wait, no, we're still doing really well right now. But when you zoom in on the 4-hourly chart and you zoom in on the hourly chart, then yeah, no, things can look scary. And we are down. Like, I think we're at 35% down from all-time high at the moment. It looks like you said, if we do break to that 39, we'll get to about 40. But when you zoom out, as Jebb just said, when you got in a year ago, we're still massively up. Like my buy-in was 11,000. I will probably never be in the negative ever again.
Yeah.
And I do want to echo, like, my condolences for people who got in at 69 who are really feeling, not condolences, that's the wrong word because that makes it sound like you died. My empathy
Maybe
for
a
people
little.
who got in at 69 or 65 or something. Because, you're sitting here and all you know is red.
Yeah.
That's all you've ever seen. But trust us that if you're patient, put yourself, even though you can't go back in time, imagine you went back in time and bought at 11,000 or 7,000 or 1,000, or there are people out there that bought at $1. They are sitting so pretty right now. They are not concerned whatsoever.
Yeah. And also another thing I'll mention here before we move on to another article, I meant to mention this earlier. Take a look on my screen. I'll show you the bull market in 2017, which I think was the healthiest two-year period in Bitcoin's entire history, because we didn't grow too fast, we didn't grow too slow, we had solid corrections. It was just a beautiful market. There were about 7 major corrections that took place during the 2016-17 bull market. And if you take a look at them, this one was 38% retracement. This one right here was 28% retracement. This one right here was 38% retracement. This one right here, 37. You may be seeing a trend. This one right here, 36. This one right here was 42. And then this one right here was 40. What my point is Bitcoin normally goes through 40% retracements during a bull market. That's the way it goes. We've had some very strange market structure in the last 12 months because Bitcoin had such an explosive movement. This kind of movement where we rally 1,600% and add $1 trillion market cap in like 7 months is normally not how bull markets work in crypto. What we normally see is we see a slow, steady growth that starts to pick up steam towards the end, and then throughout, we see a 40% drop. Guess what? If we were to see a 40% drop, just like Bitcoin normally does in a healthy bull market, that would pull Bitcoin back to $41,500. We've been saying $42,000 is a possibility for a month and a half, and that's what we're seeing right now. So don't get worried about it. If we start going down to 35 or 30 or something, then maybe we have a conversation about a bear market, but we're not even close to that yet, at least in my opinion. Now, let's go ahead and talk really briefly here something about Bitcoin RVT ratio. I'm not going to have a lot of time to go into this. If you want more information, go check out Kelly Kellen's Twitter. You can see his handle right here. RVT ratio basically shows whenever there's an uptrend on the price action, as you can see highlighted here. Normally there's an uptrend going on here on this ratio as well. And you can see we're actually sitting right on top of this ratio at the moment based on the last 6 to 8 months of Bitcoin data. And I do think that we're going to hold that. This is just an interesting metric that I wanted to show you. And it basically tells us that The trend price will continue the correction down, but it also will probably be bottoming out relatively soon. So let's also continue moving on here to what caused the drop yesterday. Key reasons why Bitcoin just tanked to $42,000. This one is interesting. I'm going to be brief on this. The market turbulence comes minutes after U.S. Federal Reserve December meeting, which released on Wednesday. There was quite a lot of concern about the Federal Reserve over the last couple of days. People are always concerned about the Federal Reserve and what they're going to do, and the stock market's also down. Just so you know, it's not just Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The stock market's had a little bit of a correction. This is really the big one that I think caused a big part of it. Bitcoin is also facing headwind in the cryptocurrency mining sector due to a wave of protests erupting in Kazakhstan, the second largest Bitcoin mining hub. People don't realize that most of those miners that got shut down in China didn't just go to North America. A ton of them went to Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan has turned into the second largest Bitcoin mining hub in the world. I believe it's behind only America at this point. The country's government imposed a nationwide internet shutdown to quell unrest, forcing local miners to switch off their equipment. And also a lot of the government kind of left. It was a weird situation. We're not a political channel. I'm not getting into it. But the point is, there was a lot of unrest in Kazakhstan, and it shut down a lot of the miners, caused a hash rate drop, which obviously can freak out the network. And I think that's what ended up happening there. And another thing I want to mention, guys, is that after that occurred, we saw about $1 billion in long liquidations. You can see they happened yesterday. We saw $200 million here at around 1,100 hours on the 5th of January. Then we saw about $500 million here on the 5th of January around 1,500 hours. And then we saw another, $40 million, $37 million, $80 million liquidation. These are some of the largest liquidation candles that we've seen in quite some time. Every time we see a large liquidation event like this, we normally see a drop. Normally the drop is what's causing the liquidation, and it can cause the drop to cascade. And that's what we're seeing. It's not something that we should be super scared of, but it is something that we need to know because we want to know how the market has actually why the market has moved in the way that it has. So with that said, let's go ahead and move into our next intermission here, guys. Let's go ahead and read some super chats, interact with you guys. And guys, thank you so very much to all, 4,200 of you watching the stream. Let's see if we can't get to 1,700 likes here in the next few minutes. Thank you so very much for tuning in. If you're new here, let me explain to you what this channel is and why you should subscribe. We are a channel that prides ourselves in bringing you high quality educational and informational content to help you achieve financial freedom here in cryptocurrency markets. That's the vision statement of the company. It's been my vision for the last 4.5 years I've been running this channel, help you achieve financial freedom through crypto. And also, we want to help you achieve financial freedom for a greater reason. Why? Because I believe financial freedom is a very important part of what's going to allow you to drive a purpose-driven life, because that's where you're really going to find fulfillment. Money's not going to bring you fulfillment, believe me, I can tell you that. But what will is walking in your God-given purpose every single day, whether you believe in that or not. Your purpose is something that is going to bring you ultimate fulfillment, and we want to help you achieve financial freedom so that you're able to not have to worry about that anymore. With that said, let's keep going here.
Yeah, no, before you answer one of the super chats, I want to answer a question that's been asked by several people, so I'm going to just group them all together. Jebb, what are your thoughts on the head and shoulders pattern forming on Bitcoin right now?
That's a good one. Yeah, so the head and shoulders pattern we have to take more seriously now, because Bitcoin, and it's not that I wasn't taking it seriously before, but I wasn't taking it as seriously before. This head and shoulders pattern does... Here's the thing. There was a head and shoulders pattern in 2021 right here, and the shoulder line was right down around $30,000. Right now, I would agree that this has kind of turned into a head and shoulders pattern. It's frankly a pretty ugly one. We would have to see a rally up to like $54,000 and then another drop for this really to turn into a head and shoulders pattern, in my opinion. I don't think this is confirmed as a head and shoulders pattern, but what I would say to that is that the bottom here around $40,000 is kind of similar to the bottom here around $30,000 that we saw back in March. We've seen a lot of fundamental development. We've seen a lot of sentiment continuing to increase. We've seen more attention on Bitcoin as there's been, tremors in the traditional stock market. So could this cause a drop on Bitcoin down to like a $30,000 or something? Maybe. I'm not going to put a lot of stock in that at the moment. I don't have a lot of reason to believe that Bitcoin needs to go down to $30,000 yet. But do I think that we're going to follow through on the head and shoulders pattern's actual price target, which would be $10,000? Absolutely not. I think that is absolutely absurd. I would be remarkably surprised if we ever saw a $10,000 Bitcoin again. So could we see a break to the downside below the shoulder line around $40,000? Yes. I don't put a ton of stock in it, although I am taking it a little bit more seriously these days.
Yeah. Let's go to some super chats here. We got one from Jason Clark saying, what is the chance this was our spring? So we kind of answered that already, Jason, but there is a chance, but it's not a guarantee or a certainty just yet. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with watching the volume over the next candles. And as I said before, if we're doing something similar to what we did in the last accumulation phase, that one stayed at the bottom, and the spring on the 4-hourly chart looked like it was about 6 candles wide. We've already played 4, so I'm looking at the next 2 to kind of see what happens. We probably will know by tomorrow. I think tomorrow, most likely, Jebb, tell me if you do agree or disagree, we're probably going to see the price either go up a little bit. I'm not saying we're rallying to new all-time high tomorrow, but we'll probably go up back around that 45, somewhere in that region, or we'll be dropping down to 39.
I think, yeah, I think we're at an unstable point in the market right now. I think 42,000 is relatively unstable, and we're probably not going to stay here. We're going to pick one. And, you know, so some people are going to say, oh, well, yeah, it could go up, could go down. Well, the thing is, Bitcoin actually has 3 options. It's not just can go up, can go down. It's also can go sideways, and we're saying it's probably not can go sideways. So that's the point we're making.
Yep. The crypto degenerate just wanted to give a donation, so no chat here. But what I'll do is there was a great question asked in chat by Lil John 414 that we're going to say he paid for. Could it be possible that Bitcoin and Ethereum have started their bear market by looking at the downtrend on dominance? So we looked at dominance already. We've talked about this a little bit.
Dominance is never something that I have looked at for bull market, bear market. It can be tempting to do that because there is a certain trend that happened during the last bear market on Bitcoin where Bitcoin started regaining market dominance, but that's actually 2 problems with that. Number one, during the last bear market, Bitcoin was doing the opposite of what it's doing right now. What Bitcoin is doing right now on dominance is what Bitcoin was doing during the bull market, not the bear market. And the second problem with that is we only have one data point, so we can't really, you know, figure out where we're going. It's like if we have a line on a chart. Let me show you this. If we have a line on a chart, we have 1 point and no second point, then the line can kind of go wherever you want. It's when you set that second point that you actually have some certainty. Okay, it's moving in this direction, right? Right now with the market dominance, we have 1 point, and we don't know if the other point's going to be here or here, 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 here. We need to set another point by finishing out this cycle, and then we can look at that data in 3-4 years from now. But I think it's way too early in the Bitcoin market to even be looking at market dominance as a trend indicator for bull and bear markets, just because simply we don't have enough data. We've only been through one bear market where market dominance mattered at all because Bitcoin just maintained all of its market dominance straight through the first bear market that it ever went through. So I think it's actually too early in Bitcoin's history to be looking at that as an indicator of anything. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment there too, and also this is just in agreement because when I heard it yesterday on Around the Blockchain with I can never remember the names between the 2 brothers.
Aaron. Yesterday was Aaron.
No, but he pointed out something that I've been thinking for a while, and so I just wanted to highlight it. I definitely think we're right at the cusp of we're harnessing so much of our perspective on what the cycles did in the last 2 cycles. I mean, this is a very young market, but with the amount of just expedited growth that has happened exponentially in the last 13 years, and more specifically in the last about 6 years, with the advent of the various altcoin ecosystems that have just, I'm talking, exploded onto this entire crypto asset niche. I do think that we're starting to get to the tipping point of, I don't think it's just going to all of a sudden just everything's going to, uncorrelate from each other and, break those trends that we've been doing. But I do think we're right at the cusp of it. It's like you and I talked about it when we were talking about things that are hard to define. It's going to be interesting because we have to use historical data to come up with what are a semblance of a plan when you're going into, price discovery or new parts of a market. But I do think that we are starting to, the metaverse is probably going to interact differently than DeFi, and they're going to end up defining their own cycles, and that's going to relate more with traditional stuff. And then you're going to have Bitcoin doing differently than Ethereum, and that's going to do differently from gaming, play to earn games. So we just need to keep an eye on this, look historical, but also see how we can define when these trends are changing, and we can adjust our strategies.
And by the way, guys, 2 things, then we're going to move into Ethereum here. Number 1, give me a 1 in chat if you found the channel from the Altcoin Daily interview that I did about a week ago. Had an amazing time. Austin was an incredible host. He's very, very polite, very kind, just had some great questions. I really enjoyed that interview. For all of our subscribers that didn't see that, go check out the Altcoin Daily channel of interview that I did over there with them. Went up about a week ago on New Year's Day. Had a lot of fun. Drop a 1 in chat if you found the channel from that. And also, 2, tell us in chat if Kelly should move down to Florida so that you can see his smiling face on stream more, because he's only got 2 more days left in Florida. So tomorrow is going to be your last stream in person for a little while, isn't it, Kelly?
It's going to be my last stream in person for a while, but I'm working in coordination with the king of production over here, Mr. Smaynald, Smagatang. We're trying to figure out ways to get a couple, so not to do it all the time, but so when we need some remote co-hosting and stuff, because, for instance, next week you're going to be, we have a lot of stuff going on. And for those of you who don't know, this hour and a half show that we do in the morning is the smallest amount of time that we actually spend during the week. I mean, everything we do leads to our ability to do this hour and a half in the morning, but there's so much other stuff in the background, and it's hard to keep everybody in office, and also participate in different conventions and networking and just whatever it is. So we're trying to really make this show as valuable as possible by giving y'all the most value and making it robust. That's our only intention.
I'm excited for the fact that Kelly just let us Southern out for a little bit. He said y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Our New York City boy down here said y'all.
He's from Texas.
I know he's from Texas. He's letting it out.
He's a Texas boy.
Letting it loose.
I'm a man of the world, I also lived in Southeast
y'all.
Asia, but
He said y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Drop a y'all in chat if you like the. Yeah, I mean, you can take the boy out of the country. You can't take the country out of the boy. Nevertheless, let's keep going, guys. Bitcoin and Ethereum. We already talked about Bitcoin. Now it's time for Ethereum. In the last 2 months, we had talked about how Ethereum was in a major symmetrical triangle, a major ascending wedge, how it was probably going to break bearish out of it. That it did. And then once it started breaking bearish and Bitcoin started to fall over around November of last year, we started looking for longer-term support levels. One of the major longer-term support levels that I outlined to you was the 50% retracement on Fibonacci from our bottom back here in July all the way up to our top here on 8th of November. We saw $3,300 was the level that we want to be looking out for. And so when we saw that, I drew 3 levels. I drew a level at 2930, I drew a level at 3,300, and I drew a level here at 3,600 based on Fibonacci. This is technical analysis at work. I'm just the messenger. I'm not taking credit for this. Fibonacci just happens to work. It's a very interesting thing. We can see that we held $3,600 for quite some time, but we have now broken below it. And guess where we went next? We went straight to the Fibonacci level, guys. It's almost like technical analysis works. There's a reason why we teach technical analysis in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you want to learn everything that we're doing on this stream, check the link down below. You can sign up and start learning how to do technical analysis so that you can do it on any market that you want. Fibonacci is one of the things we teach. Right now, we're sitting on top of that $3,300 level. But we're going to go ahead and delete that. And we're going to look at some other TA here. First and foremost, we had a falling trading channel here on Ethereum's RSI. We've actually broken bearish out of it. The RSI on Ethereum right now is pulled all the way down to 32. And, it's really tempting. Every single time so I got into the market July 31st, 2017. It's been 4.5 years. Every single time, I'm not even joking, I mean every single time that Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything drops down to 3,200, 32 on the RSI, I'm like, we're going to go lower, we're going to go lower, we're going to go lower. And invariably, we bounce. Invariably. It sometimes takes a little while. Almost certainly you see a bounce. And it shows on the RSI here. We dropped down to 29, 23 in March of 2020. Bounce. We dropped down to 35 on May 20th. Bounce. We dropped down to 32 down here on June. Bounce. We dropped down to 36. Bounce. We dropped down to 35. Bounce. We don't sit down here long, guys. We do this whole sideways trading stuff up here around 40 to 60. Sometimes we'll do it around 45. Sometimes we'll do it around 60. Normally we're doing it up here around 55, maybe even up to 60. But it's very rare that you'll see the market trade sideways for an extended period of time anywhere near 30. I mean, look at the history on Ethereum's RSI, and if we were able to draw a VPVR through this, you would see that there's almost no trading time that took place down here around 32. All of the data is up here, it's right in here, it's right there, up here, up here. You see how all of this is coming together in these different areas? Very, very rarely do we spend much time down here at all, and that's where RSI is right now on Ethereum. We have a strong reason to believe that a bottom is close. Now, we might see a small bounce and then a drop even lower. That could happen, but at the moment, it looks like a bounce is around the corner. And that would make sense because we do have strong support at $3,300. Again, I'm not talking about a giant bounce, I'm talking maybe a couple $100, and maybe we drop down to $3,000 after that. But I do think we're going to see some kind of small recovery rally here in the next little while. It is sharply bearish, though, and I want to remind you of that. Just because we're getting kind of a buy signal from RSI. I'd be careful about getting buy and sell signals from RSI. That's not what it was designed to do. The thing you need to keep in mind, though, is that RSI was actually designed not to give you buy and sell signals. It wasn't even designed to give you overextension signals. It was designed to tell you who's in charge, the bull or the bears. Right now, the bears are in charge, and that's the point it's making, so I don't want to miss that. The MACD is also quite bearish right now. We are at the lowest point that we've been in quite some time, hearkening back to October of last year. It's probably going to be a little while before we see a bullish MACD cross, but at the moment, that's where we are. Now, another thing to mention on the Bollinger Bands is that we do have expanding volatility. We're actually below the Bollinger Bands right now, and if we look out to the weekly chart, we can see that we're actually getting pretty close to the bottom Bollinger Band, which, go figure, is sitting down here around $3,000, which is our next support level. So the point I'm making here so far is that Ethereum has already seen quite a bit of bearishness. There is an opportunity for it to have a small bounce and a correction down to $3,000. And quite frankly, if Bitcoin doesn't manage to hold 42, this is very likely what's going to happen. So this is my scenario. The one I've drawn on the chart right here is my scenario if Bitcoin does not hold $42,000 and Bitcoin drops down to, 37, 38, 39, 40. This is what I think is going to happen, and I do think you'll see a $3,000 Ethereum in that case. If Bitcoin, on the other hand, decides to hold 42, then we'll probably see a little bit of sideways action here around 33, and then we'll start to see a gradual movement to the upside. We might see a more sharp movement to the upside on Bitcoin. I think we'd see a more gradual movement to the upside on Ethereum because Ethereum has lagged behind Bitcoin in this drop. Bitcoin's down 40%, Ethereum's down 33%. The reason that that's significant is because Ethereum is still holding on to some of those bulls. Some of those bulls that really need to sell to get shaken out have not let go yet in the way that a lot of the Bitcoin bulls have let go. You kind of got to let go to move forward. That's how life works, and that's how markets work as well. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look here at Lux Algo. It's going to be brief because Lux Algo doesn't give us signals very often, but when it does, it gives us very powerful ones. We have been in a downtrend on Lux Algo on the daily chart since the 16th of November. That's all we really need to know. Boom. That's what we need to know on daily chart. But here's the other thing. We actually just pulled back down into the top of the EQ of the reversal zone on Lux Algo. I've actually been told by the owner of Lux Algo that this is one of his favorite parts of the entire indicator package. There's like 25 indicators in the entire package. This is one of his favorites, the reversal zones. He joked like, are we actually going to give this away? We should keep this to ourselves. And they did. They put it here in Lux Algo. We're currently sitting on top of that reversal zone. Take a look at what happened the last several times that we got up to the top of a reversal zone or even to the bottom of a reversal zone like we did back here. Normally it means that you're about to, well, you're in the zone of reversal. That's what we're looking at. So I do think the bottom is relatively close. We could ride this to the downside a little bit more, though, so just be on the lookout for that. 4-hourly chart, going to run through this quickly. It's very similar to what we saw on Bitcoin. We are currently in the reversal zone. The trend catcher has jumped off a cliff, so if we did go into an uptrend, maybe moved up to $3,500, $3,600, we would see a strong uptrend start on the 4-hourly chart as confirmed by Lux Algo. That would be a very good sign, but in this case, I really do think Ethereum is going to follow Bitcoin's lead no matter what Lux Algo says on Ethereum's 4-hourly chart. With that said, guys, let's keep moving here. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to check in with the chat, and we're going to do a couple more altcoins. So we're going to look at AVAX and MATIC first, and then we're going to go ahead and read some super chats because I know there's a few that we need to get to. Thank you guys so much for your continued donations, by the way. What's up, Tim?
I want to pause for just a second.
Okay.
I talked about this actually with Smay. Doing something in the future, whenever we disagree with something, like having like a bell that's like ding, ding, ding,
Button.
like little like debates. So I want to look at something real quick with them. So you're still on your chart with Ethereum.
I'm on my chart with Ethereum now.
Could you pull up the Bollinger Bands and the RSI?
I can.
All right, so this is a question, and I must say what I'm about to say will disagree with what I've said last week.
4-hourly chart, you said?
Start on the daily chart, actually. So I was of the opinion that Ethereum was going to be in a season of being a little bit lagging behind Bitcoin, but I have a couple qualms with myself about that opinion when I'm looking at it right now. Because first of all, actually, you know what? Expand out to the 3-day chart. Let's start a little bit bigger.
Okay.
On the 3-day chart, we are for sure not only at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, we are also putting ourselves in a nice fat bullish RSI divergence. Also, there's a descending level of support that if you're touching on the wicks, let's see, if you're on the 3-day chart, you see that red candle on the 16th of October?
Yes.
Anchor right there, and then go through, let it touch that wick on the 3rd of December, and then obviously it runs through what we're doing right now on that 3-day red candle.
Yep.
There's a descending level of support right there. We're at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. We are setting a bullish RSI divergence. The MACD is kind of moving sideways. While technically it's moving down a little bit right now, as we all know, MACD is kind of a lagging indicator. that's kind of an indecision point for me on the MACD. The RSI is screaming bullish. The Bollinger Bands are screaming bullish, and there is a descending level of support right there. When you move to the daily chart, you're going to see the exact same thing. We're way overextended on the Bollinger Bands. We still have that bullish RSI divergence in the same kind of format that we had with the three daily chart. So I actually am of the opinion, when I'm looking at this, I actually think that Ethereum could become explosive and rally back over Bitcoin. What I haven't looked at yet, which we could technically, is what the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart looks like. It's on the daily chart at the bottom of its Bollinger Band. It isn't a season. It's actually kind of accumulating right now. It's kind of small, which, as we know, is screaming a breakout. Could we see Ethereum actually have an explosive rally? Like, I know I was calling like a week ago, so I was saying we're going to see boring action, but I'm actually looking at technicals now, especially on the longer time frames, that are kind of pointing towards an explosive Ethereum bounce. What are your thoughts on that, Jebb and Kelly?
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Where's the money going to come from?
I mean, the same place that the money will come from every other crypto.
I think a lot of the money that's going into the altcoin space right now is coming from Ethereum. I think that's why it's been dropping over the last little while.
Yeah.
Is a lot of people are selling their Bitcoin and Ethereum for the altcoins. That is why we've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum market dominance decline. And that's why I think that Ethereum is going to struggle to do what you said, because I think when people are looking to find capital, obviously they're looking on the sidelines for things that are in stable coins. But especially as we draw deeper into this correction over the last 2 months, I think people are looking at their big gainers that they've had over the last 2 years, such as Ethereum, such as Bitcoin, and they're selling them into the smaller cap coins. So my question to you then is, where is the money going to come from to allow Ethereum to take the lead over Bitcoin, especially when Ethereum has not dropped as far as Bitcoin has, and there's a bigger opportunity to buy a lower dip on Bitcoin than there is in Ethereum?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is I think that there's actually going to be money coming into both Bitcoin and Ethereum
I would agree.
From institutions here very soon. And I don't think that one of them. So I think another thing, and we need to make sure people don't misunderstand us. I don't think either one of us are saying just because one's explosive, the other has to be boring.
Sure.
They could both be explosive,
Oh, yeah.
just one lags behind the other.
Sure.
What I'm looking at right here, I want to do more digging, and I'm not going to do it on this stream, but like we are in a bull pennant right now on the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart. That could show us that we're going to be going up. We are, again, Ethereum is actually, when you're looking at charts, if we were looking at these charts side by side, Ethereum and Bitcoin side by side, when you look at the 3-day chart and the daily chart, Ethereum's technicals actually are showing a little more explosion. As far as you're asking, I don't think I have a good answer for where's that money coming from, other than potentially you might see some of these institutions say, hey, let's invest in both of these. But Ethereum's sitting in a great spot right now. Yeah. We know that their projects are doing great. There's a lot of their projects that are gaining traction right now. And when those are gaining traction, we know people are going to look deeper into those and say, man, Ethereum's really doing good stuff. We know that at some point this year, ETH 2.0 is coming out. And maybe people go ahead and risk it and say, hey, even though ETH 2.0 isn't out yet, we think it's going to come, and the projects on ETH are doing amazingly. This is a good buy right now.
Well, tell us in chat, are you on Team Truck or Team Beard? That's what our team names are. It's been a while.
Symbols.
Our ticker symbols. Yeah. Are you on Team BRD or Team TRK? Tell us in chat which team you are on. But let's keep moving here so that we can get through all of our content, guys. We're going to look at Avalanche really quickly here. Avalanche is in a very, very interesting position. It's about to go through a avalanche. It has just broken some support. I bet half of the audience just cringed so hard and the other half just died of laughter. I don't think there was a single person that didn't have a funny reaction to what I just did there. Right now, Avalanche is breaking bearish below a long-term uptrend that has been respecting ever since July of 2021. It doing this basically tells me we're going to pull back down to 80 bucks. And I'm just going to kind of tell you what I think up front, and then I'll substantiate it. We're in a symmetrical triangle pattern, guys. We broke bearish. We are now breaking bearish below 2 support levels, 99, 100 bucks, let's call it. And then this uptrend, now it's kind of in free fall. There's not a lot of support beneath it other than an uptrend right here, which respectfully, it could bounce off of right around $88, but it's probably not going to. In my opinion, we're going to see Avalanche either pull back down to $88 on this uptrend, or it's going to pull back down to $80 on this bottom. And I think Avalanche is going to have a difficult time going into a big uptrend unless the rest of the cryptocurrency market does. With that said, it is already 40% down, and if it did go down all the way to $80, it'd be down 46%. So we'll see what happens, but I do think that you're going to see a little bit more bearishness on Avalanche. I think it's a good time to be dollar cost averaging into a bottom, but I don't think the absolute bottom is in just yet. Let's also take a quick sneak peek at MATIC. MATIC is a cryptocurrency you guys have talked about quite a bit. It is currently in a long-term uptrending trading channel. It's also very close to the bottom. That's really the main thing I want to show you here on MATIC. If you've been looking to buy MATIC, now probably isn't a terrible time as far as the technicals are concerned, just on a preliminary look. But what we can also see is that there's potentially some bullish RSI divergence going on as well. You can see that the RSI has a lower low forming here on the daily chart, higher lows forming here on the daily chart's price action. So that is a bullish thing. Like I said, it's also pretty close to these two ultra long-term trend lines. This one goes back to May of 2021. This one goes back to April of 2021. So MATIC is in a decent buy spot right now. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and check in with the chat, and then we're going to keep on moving here, guys.
Yeah, so the crypto degenerate actually ended up commenting later because he was the one that donated and didn't get a post. So I don't read his question in chat. He said, the crypto markets have gone through a 4-year cycle. This time, it seems like everyone believes in the lengthening cycle. Is it possible that a longer cycle is due to March of 2020 crash?
Let Kelly answer that first. Yeah,
I don't think you can directly relate it to that crash. I think I wouldn't even call it a crash, but the corrections happen along the way in markets. And I think the nature of the lengthening cycles is more relevant to the depth and width and volume that's in this market, and the level of institutional players, big money, the number of wallets. As things grow, it takes a lot more energy to move them and change directions, whether it be up or down or left or right or whatever it is, just like a cruise ship. But the other half of that answer would be what we were just mentioning a couple minutes ago about how these markets will start to break away from each other and move a little more independently within the whole crypto ecosystem. But I think that, I think with the larger the markets get, and because the halving is getting more and more diminished to where it actually is influencing the supply flow, it's inevitable that at some point we won't. I don't think we'll. And I would say somewhere in, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. 6 to 12 years, somewhere in there, we'll get to a point where the 4-year cycle wouldn't even be relevant to looking at how we're looking at it anymore. It's just going to be more of a dynamic. It's going to ebb and flow. It's going to create its own cycle.
Yeah, the 4-year cycle is something that I don't think there's an argument against. It's going to stop being relevant at some point. The question is when. I think we're moving in that direction. But the original question was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, are we still feeling the effects of the March 2020 drop? Is that basically what we
pretty
heard?
much. Is the extended cycle due to that 2020 drop?
I wouldn't say so. I think that had a very interesting impact on the market at the time, but more so than the drop itself, I would say the economic climate ever since has been what's really impacted Bitcoin actually in a positive way, because there's a lot of uncertainty around traditional markets right now, guys. The stock market is rallying big time, real estate's rallying big time, but everybody who knows anything about economies knows that that's not a good sign. A lot of the retail looks at that and says, oh, great, we just went through a giant pandemic and we didn't have a crash, we didn't have a recession. Times are great. No, they're not. They are not great. They are just not great. You know what we're doing? We're kicking the can down the road. We're saying, oh, there's no problem. No, there is a problem. The can's right there. You just kicked it into the future. We got to deal with this at some point, guys. And everybody who knows anything about economies knows it will catch up with us. And a lot of those smart money people are moving into crypto right now. In 5 years, after we've gone through a big recession, because I can't tell you if there's going to be a recession this year or next year or the next 3 years, but I can tell you something, there will be a recession in the next 10 years. And when it happens, retail is going to realize, oh yeah, we can't trust the Fed because they could have stopped this by allowing us to have a proper recession in 2008 instead of propping the market up and kicking the can further down the road. But I could go on that tangent all day long, so I'm not going to.
We have more super chats here. Randy Marsh said, hey, Jebb, thank you for all of your content. Just curious if you'd be able to share your thoughts on Gero Wallet within the Cardano ecosystem.
I haven't used it. Kelly, do you have any thoughts on that?
Gero Wallet is actually interesting because they integrate all kind of different features that some wallets are just independent, just a wallet, but in that standalone case. But with Gero Wallet, it integrates to where you can use all kinds of different DeFi, whether it be staking, yield farming, borrowing and lending. There's just a number of different things you can do on it, and I think of it. I think it is somewhat highly regarded in terms of their legitimacy, and so if you want to use it, I stand by it. Thumbs up from Kelly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. T-Shun, did you have any thoughts on that?
I don't.
Okay,
no.
you did.
I haven't
You
looked
look like
into
you
that
might have
at
had
all.
one, but maybe you didn't. All right, we have a joke here from Rhino Seth. Preface that this is a joke. So he said, please give me your opinion on USDT. From what I can see, there's not a lot of price action, but between you and me, I think it's getting ready to pump.
Well, I actually made
Can
a
we do
video.
some TA on it?
I was gonna say, I actually on, I believe the video came out. What day was it? What
Probably
day was it?
April Fool's,
It
right?
was April 1st, I think, was the day the video came out. Yeah, April 1st of 2018. I actually did some technical analysis on US dollar tether. So go back and watch that. Everybody who watched that video fell for it and thought I was just a giant idiot. It was really funny.
It's in a
the comments on that video are gold. If you need a reason to go back on the channel, go find the technical analysis I did on USD. By the way, the first 2 years on the channel, I had to do one takes. I didn't have the ability to edit videos, so I had to hold my laughs in for like 7 minutes. It was the funniest video I've ever made.
It's in a forever trading channel.
It is in a forever trading channel. It is. Yeah.
I actually pulled it
It's
up.
acting like a stable coin. Can you believe it?
Oh, is this the MACD on
Yeah,
USDT?
the MACD does move around quite a bit.
I
It's
know it
kinda
does. Yeah,
interesting.
no, there's volatility.
Leon the Dutch chimed in and said, hey guys, Goldman Sachs talks a lot about Bitcoin in the news going to 100K. So this is articles that have been coming out the last couple of days.
Yep.
Isn't that a strange sign that banks are positive about Bitcoin? Your view? Thanks.
The banks are doing that for PR. And the reason I say that is because if they keep bashing Bitcoin, they're going to lose their customers. So a lot of people think that the bank's transition from being anti-crypto to pro-bit crypto was because they had this change of heart and they realized that the good news of Bitcoin is coming and us banks, we're so evil and we need to lay down our arms to Bitcoin. No, guys, their PR team said you're going to lose half your client base if you don't allow for Bitcoin and crypto. You know, we're going to see traditional finance and decentralized finance start to merge. We've seen PayPal adopting Bitcoin. We've seen Robinhood adopting Bitcoin. We've seen all kinds of companies adopting Bitcoin. We have seen banks now start adopting Bitcoin. We've seen cities adopting Bitcoin. You're going to see a merger. You're going to see both of those ecosystems overlap because the banks know that if they don't join them, they're not going to beat them, and they will get left behind. So it's a PR thing, I would say.
I also think it has a little bit to do with the fact that they said that right around the 4th and the 5th. What happened right after those articles came out? The price dropped.
Yep.
I think it might have a little bit
It's
to do with
probably
manipulation.
it's probably a double motive, and they're
Yeah.
also trying to freak people out and FUD them so that they can drop the price, so that they can buy back in, so that they can offer cheaper Bitcoin to the people that they have as clients. But there's a lot that goes into the manipulation of the banking sector.
Keep remembering, and this isn't a foolproof thing. It's not 100%. Every now and then, there is a time where someone gives a bullish opinion article and the price goes up, and vice versa. They give a bearish opinion and the price goes down. But I want, for those of you who've been following crypto for a while now, I've been in it for a little over a year. You tell me, isn't there a correlation between bullish opinions and then the price seems to drop, and bearish opinions and the price seems to rally? If you go back and do your TA on those articles, you're gonna find more often than not that correlation's pretty interesting.
Well, also the more mainstream that opinion is supported by. For instance, up until, and I think this has probably started to shift, but up until about a year and a half ago, at minimum, there was kind of a funny thing amongst people that have been here, like, you know, amongst us traders that have been in the game for 5-6 years, that we started noticing anytime that there was a positive news story on CNBC,
It was the top, CNBC.
MSNBC, like the second would come on, like it seems like, okay, sell, because in about 3 days we're about to drop. And I think the winds have started to shift on that, because now Bitcoin and crypto is truly in the zeitgeist. The general public very much knows about it, but I do agree that's a great question you had, because I've actually been speculating on that too. Like, okay, Goldman Sachs is now pumping 100K. Does that mean it's definitely not going to happen, or is this kind of feeding the frenzy much later on down the road? So they're kind of planting that seed that is possible. Maybe we have a lot of sideways action this year, and it's the longest bull cycle we've ever seen, and we don't start really. We don't know, but. Either way, all you can do is trade the charts, read the context of what's happening in the media, and set your stop losses and trade smart.
Well, even further, continue to thought that with the articles, Kelly, you know, for those who have researched Wyckoff, not just what Wyckoff theory is, but the history of Richard Wyckoff, you'll know he talks about article manipulation and the timeliness of when things are put into place, and that was as far back as the 1920s. So since the 1920s, news has been used as a form to weed people in and out of crypto to help the whales or the composite man get the price action he wants. So let's keep moving on, though. Super chats. We have a couple. We have one. Just a donation from Paul Norton. So, Paul, if there was something you wanted to ask or say, tag me or T-Shroom or Kelly or somebody so we can grab that one. But thank you for the donation if you just wanted to support the team. Yeah. Corey Bates said, Jebb versus Peter Schiff debate. Be interesting. Interesting. Mojo said, thoughts on Bitcoin monthly RSI.
Yeah, actually, we talked about that earlier on the show. There's an uptrend if you look at, see if I can remember here. If you look at December of 2018, you look at March of 2020, and then you look at now, we need to go down one more point to grab it. I believe I got that right, but we talked about it earlier on in the show, actually, so scrub back in our Bitcoin TA and you'll find that. It was about 40 minutes ago or so.
Yep. Let's see. Do you have time for a couple more before we keep going? Yeah. Carlos C. said, your opinion on AMP, and do any of you guys own AMP?
I don't personally own AMP, so I'm not the most up to date on it. I try and stay up to date mainly on the cryptos that I'm invested in. Kelly, do you know a little bit about AMP? Or do you have any AMP?
I had some AMP. That was some of the smaller coins like that when they're, I would say, below the 150 mark on the coin market rankings. I tend to do a lot more either day or swing trading on because of the volatility. But no, I think it's a solid project, but I think it's there's so much speculation around it. There was a rumor that Amazon was going to implement AMP, and so everybody got super excited about that, and it didn't happen. And then the prices. So I mean, it's a solid project, and they have. I think it's Flexa. Is it Flexa that runs on top of AMP, which is essentially going to be it's thought of to be probably something very likely to be used by major sales platforms online for transaction processing. But again, this is all the thing. It's not like Chainlink that's fully implemented and everybody knows it's absolutely tested and true. AMP and Flexa, there's so many speculations that I feel like I'm just waiting for some follow through on those things, but they're solid projects.
There you go. Well, how about that, guys? Well, really quickly here, I want to move into a discussion, but I do want to bring you a word from one of the sponsors of our channel, which we actually are very proud to bring you. The North American Bitcoin Conference, which is going to be happening on the 17th. Myself, Greg, who's in chat right now, and a couple of our other team members are actually going to be there in person. And here's why you might be interested in joining us down in Miami this year. There is a lot going on down there, guys. They got some amazing masterclasses. You're going to be learning from major power players, technologists, disruptive pioneers in the cryptocurrency space. They're going to be sharing insider insights. They're going to be showing you wisdom about the cryptocurrency markets. You're going to have a lot of really great speakers showing up. For example, let me just read you some names here. Mark Cuban is going to be there. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, as he calls himself, the CEO of El Salvador. Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, is going to be there. You're also going to have founders from Tether, Ethereum, Tezos, Tron, Voyager, and Phantom discuss and debate and design the future of crypto. By the way, guys, this is the oldest conference in Bitcoin, the oldest major, longest running conference in crypto. They've been doing it for 8 years. Major projects that you've heard of, like Ethereum, were launched at this conference. So this is an unmissable event. If you have any interest of going to a conference this year, this is one that you do not want to miss. And like I said, we're going to be there. There's about 4,000 people showing up. We're going to be 4 of the people showing up. So you will probably be able to find us, and we want to meet as many of you guys as possible. Get your tickets down below. You can get 20% off with our link only. If you hit the link down below, you'll get 20% off. Not only will you be getting access to an amazing event, you'll also be helping to support our channel and fund our journey to go there and meet you guys. So make sure to check that out down below. The time is running out on that because obviously the conference is only about a week and a half away. So make sure to check out all of that information. But let's go ahead and keep moving here. Let's read the rest of our super chats, and then I have a question for the table.
Yeah, we got Leon the Dutch said, what thus the beginning exchange, I don't know if he meant thus, but what thus the beginning of the Bitcoin exchange flow in or out, or crypto quants say about the Bitcoin price going up or down? Thanks. I'm sorry. I am trying to piece together.
What does? He said what thus. He meant what does, I think.
Okay, maybe.
I think that's what he meant. So so here's the deal. And Kelly, tell me if I'm wrong on this because I haven't seen the data in 3 or 4 days, but the exchange flows are still very bullish. There's still, actually, I think we just hit a 3 or 4 year low on the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. People are pulling Bitcoin off exchanges at a remarkable rate. As we see the cryptocurrency market develop, we're starting to see Bitcoin turn more into this digital gold thing that people have been talking about for a very long time. The supply has become more and more illiquid. And that's a very bullish thing because it means that Bitcoin becomes more and more and more solid, strong, foundational backbone backbone, if you will, for the cryptocurrency market. And then what you see is you see all the trading and volatility happening in Ethereum and the altcoins, but Bitcoin is starting to stable out. So as people are pulling Bitcoin off of exchanges, what it tells us is that the market's a lot more stable. And yes, just so you know, we are still seeing people pull Bitcoin off of exchanges because they are trying to use it as a backbone. And here's one of the big changes that's happened in the last 4 years, guys. Whenever whenever people are taking profits out of crypto, they used to take it out into stable coins and they used to take it out into US dollars. But now what a lot of people are doing is they're taking their profits out in Bitcoin. And that's a big cultural shift in, to use a word that I just love that Kelly used a while ago. I hear this word like once a year. The zeitgeist is changing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That's what we're seeing happen. People are using Bitcoin as their take profit vehicle rather than US dollars, and that is a huge, huge buy signal for the next 10 years.
A couple more super chats that came in here just a second ago. We have one from Arif Uzman, who said, "Hey George," I think that's going with "We're all George" from.
We're all George. I like George.
We love George.
By the way,
so
go tell George I would love to come on his channel.
Yeah,
we
love
enjoyed
George.
having him.
Hey George, can you
guy.
please share your thoughts on CRV considering almost $24 billion of TV?
CRV. Let's see here.
Yeah,
I was going
Curve.
to say that's Curve. I'm not the most versed on Curve, so I will let Kelly answer that.
Curve is actually an incredible project. It's pretty much
Curve DAO token, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cross-chain DeFi. I'm pretty sure it's the most locked in TVL, total value locked in the DeFi space. I mean, it's a super, super incredible
It is
project.
actually. I have DeFi Llama up here.
Yeah.
You can show them while you're talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
it's just saying it's just an incredible. I think it integrates across Ethereum, Avalanche, Phantom, a lot of the layer ones, DeFi protocols, and it's got an incredible amount of billions of dollars locked in on it. Super solid project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last one I see, Guns and Crypto said, "I just recently discovered Velas claims to be the fastest TXS 75K. Any thoughts?"
Say that again.
I'm not a tech guy, so I don't know what that means. I just recently discovered Velas claims to be the fastest
I have no
TX
idea.
over S 75K.
I have
Any
zero
thoughts?
clue on that
Transactions
one.
a second.
Okay.
Well, I know what TXS means. He's saying it claims to be the
75,000?
fastest transactions a second. It said how many thousands?
75.
75,000? There are chains out there that can do more than 75,000 transactions a second. Avalanche is theoretically infinitely scalable, so I don't know about that, but maybe it does, and that's great. There at some point, guys, transactions per second kind of becomes a moot point because Visa and MasterCard collectively, I want to say, do about 70,000 transactions a second. If you can do more than 70,000 transactions a second,
You're fine.
You're fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, Ethereum and Bitcoin have a big problem because they're dealing with, 7, 10, 12, 15 transactions a second until ETH 2.0 comes online and Lightning Network comes online. But, some of these cryptocurrencies that can do 20 million transactions a second, you're over developing your technology to have a statistic that your marketing team can use at one point. And I'm not necessarily saying that's what it's doing, but 3 years ago, having the most transactions per second was a big deal because there was a huge problem with ticks per second, but most layer 1 protocols at this point have plenty of transactions per second with the notable exception of Ethereum, but that should be changing.
All right, last one that literally just popped up. Eric Liddell said, "Pulse X, it is the new BitConnect. Should I stop my friend from dropping 10K in
Sacrifice?
There's no R.
Sacrifice? Sacrifice.
I don't know if that's a word.
So BitConnect was a $2 billion Ponzi scheme for anybody who doesn't know what it was. I actually had a BitConnect account back in the day. If you go back on one of the first videos on the YouTube channel, you can see where it was pinned. I fell for it for a little bit. I didn't lose any money because when BitConnect shut down, they actually let you withdraw your money. But BitConnect token went from $423 to zero in about 4 hours after they exit scammed. And it taught
Squid Coin.
Squid Coin is another big one. But Pulse X is one that I don't know about, and I'm not going to call it a Ponzi scheme or a BitConnect until I know. So I'm not going to answer that, but I will encourage you guys just to be careful about Ponzi schemes because they are out there, and there's a lot of ways that people are going to try and steal your money.
And there's a lot of info, especially if you're messaging us right now through the computer. That means you have access to a computer, which means you have access to a lovely tool that I find so much information through. It's called Google, and you can there's so many different forums you can go to, and don't go to one forum just like us. Don't just come to our channel. Like, you got to get different viewpoints on stuff so you can form your own opinion. And Tim says it all the time. Jebb says it all the time. And now I'm saying it. We don't want to tell you what to think and what to buy and when to trade. We share all these things that we're going through in our mind, how we're looking at the market, why we're looking at it, why we look at a coin, why we don't. And what we think about that, so you can take minutes from that, you can take moments from that, and correlate that into your strategy and how you think in your process, so that you can establish a better, more consistent, profitable track record with your trading and a free financial future.
Well, let me ask one more question, then we're going to wrap out here. This is going to be a good one. Tim.
Yes.
Why is Dogecoin still worth $20 billion?
I don't know. I do think community is a powerful thing. And I think that, to be fair to those coins that a lot of people call, which I don't
meme
use
coins.
language,
Meme
but
coins.
Meme coins. I think
coins.
Shiba Inu, for example, is actually working to develop.
They are actually trying to do something.
Whether their tech really amounts.
Doge has a team of people developing.
I don't
too.
know if it's the same.
I
level,
think
though.
it boils down to one thing. At the end of the day, the same reason why gold people debate about Bitcoin being valuable, and the argument it all comes down to if there's a shared consensus that this holds value. And there's millions of people that, maybe not millions, hundreds of thousands of people that have invested in Doge.
I'm so pleased with myself that I brought this up. This is very funny to me.
But I'm not an investor in Doge. I'm
Well,
just saying,
also
people do like it.
in a recent Lex Friedman podcast, Elon Musk continued to share his faith in Doge.
There you go. Boom.
And,
That's the answer to the question I was looking for.
yeah, and the points he makes are compelling, definitely, to someone who's kind of new to the crypto space. But even as somebody like me who's kind of been around the block, so to speak, his points are still fairly legitimate and still somewhat convincing. I didn't buy Doge as a result.
I wasn't going to go the route of bringing up Elon's name. The end of my answer was going to be because the people who own the majority of it just haven't sold yet.
Yep.
People like Elon and Mark Cuban.
Yeah. And look, Elon Musk is one of the funniest people in the entire world right now because he's won at life. He's worth $250 billion. What else is he going to do but troll everybody? What? He doesn't have to play by the same rules because people play by the rules to get successful so that they can become an Elon Musk. He's already won. What does he care? He never cared in the first place, but he sure as heck doesn't care anymore. He cares about, Tesla and, green energy and rockets and stuff, but he does not give two craps about what everybody else thinks about him. I think I don't know if he's necessarily a good thing for the cryptocurrency space, but he sure is funny. And I would love to have him on the show one day if he'd be interested.
I think
Probably
he recognizes just how early the crypto space is,
Yeah, he
and so
knows
he realizes it's a groundbreaking, revolutionary technology, and you can have a little bit of fun with it at this stage because it's inevitable.
You have to give Doge a round of applause for being the first no-purpose coin in a blockchain technology. Good job. Whoever came up with it, you're brilliant. It's just not worth anything.
I mean, it was my first coin, so I mean,
Yeah,
it got a lot of people
in.
Hey, I'm not hating on the fact Dogecoin has been probably one of the biggest marketing tools for Bitcoin that we've had so far. But let's go ahead and read these last super chats, and we're gonna wrap out. We're a little over.
So SimpleVan699, I'm going to read his because I see it right in front of me. Guys, what I do not understand is why keeps ADA dropping while I hear everyone that they are keep on buying ADA. So I think what he's saying is it keeps dropping despite everyone says that they're buying it. Are we waiting for more whales to step in?
SimpleMan699, thank you. By the way, thank you for your continued support, man. You've been around for a while. I would encourage you actually to go and watch and this is funny, I'm encouraging you to go watch a video that's not on our channel. I would encourage you to go watch the interview I did with Altcoin Daily about a week ago because I actually addressed that question, and it comes down to the leadership philosophy of Charles Hoskinson, and it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing, actually. I think he has one of the strongest, wisest, most practical, long-term outlooks on leadership philosophy in the whole cryptocurrency space, and that's why Cardano, in my opinion, has traded sideways for the majority of the year. But by the way, hasn't Bitcoin too? Haven't we been trading sideways between 40 and 65? So I think that Cardano is a fantastic project, and it is going to do very, very well.
Yeah,
It did great this year too.
It did do great this year.
No, I mean, it's going to do great this year because everybody's been waiting and waiting and waiting. And at the end of the day, I love that they're not pressured just to get things out. They have been practicing. They have been planning and establishing and developing so many different developers. We even showed a metric on it, I think, last week. It's on my Twitter if you go there. But Cardano is one of the most developed chains in 2021 in terms of how much development was happening on it compared to any other layer one solution. And there's just so much that's about to be launched on it with all their DEXs and the Plutus, all of it. I'm super excited, probably more
Cardano's
than any
gonna
other
be
coin for 2022.
I could see $150 billion, $200 billion Cardano by the end of next year. Pretty easily.
I communicated a concept a couple streams ago, and I'm having some developments in the thought. So I was juxtaposing Elon Musk to Charles Hodgkinson at the time. I could not pronounce his name.
Hoskinson.
Yeah, then you still can't.
And I still can't.
Hoskin.
I don't know why. That's
Just Hosky.
But anyway, if you think about it like this, like Elon Musk right now is able to do victory laps and kind of, he's marrying celebrities, he's getting on the biggest podcasts in the world. But his time is limited if you think about it, because what industries are he in? He's in the EV industry. That's already becoming fairly saturated, and people are questioning how long its dominance will last when you have companies like companies in China and GM and Ford, launching and supposedly going to be full EV by 2035, something like that. Right. So his days as the leader are numbered there, and also in space travel. I know it's hard to imagine, but there's gonna it's gonna become commoditized space travel eventually. Whereas what Charles Hodgkinson,
You nailed it.
There's no
Charles
H in
Hoskinson.
Well, there's the H at the beginning. In the
he's kind of still the sleeper. He's in the industry that has yet to fully awaken to the full zeitgeist.
I think
of the
Charles
globe.
Hoskinson is what Elon Musk was 15 years ago.
Boom. That's what I'm trying to say.
You were hearing about him,
In
but
one
he
statement.
wasn't. Elon Musk 15 years ago was nothing compared to what he is now,
Yeah.
and I think Charles Hoskinson is. I don't know if I'll go this far, but I think there's an opportunity that Charles Hoskinson could see the front page of Time magazine one day if Cardano does what it says it's going to, because it's going to have a big impact on Africa. And as I've said on many different shows, and after I say this, we're gonna wrap it out. When Africa becomes a 20, 30, 40 trillion dollar economy, because it's about to become the most populous continent on the planet, and it is the fastest growing continent economically on the planet. When that occurs and Cardano is laying the framework and the foundation and the infrastructure for it, Cardano benefits, and Charles Hoskinson as the founder is the one who's going to get all the credit. He's also going to get all the blame, by the way. So if Charles Hoskinson is watching, you know a lot better than I do about this, but watch out, because you're going to have haters, and that's okay, because you're doing a great job, my friend. Anyway, that's all we got time for today, guys. If you did enjoy today's show, smash that like button. Let's see if we can't get to 2,500 likes here in the next couple of minutes. And also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Why? Because it has been our vision from the first day that I made a video on this channel, November 16, 2017, to help you achieve financial freedom. That's why I've been doing technical analysis on these markets every day for over 4 years, is because I want to see you succeed in crypto. It is our purpose to help you live out your purpose. That's why we're here. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you be able to take care of your family. We want to see you be able to pay for a medical bill if one of your parents is in the hospital. We want to be able to see you donate to the charities and the ministries that you want. We want to be able to see you help support your church. We want to be able to see you live a purpose-driven life, and finances are a big part of that. That's why we're here. If you want to learn more about how to become successful in cryptocurrency, this is the definitive channel to do so. So subscribe to the channel and make sure you follow us on all of our social medias. I'm about to hit 50,000 followers on Twitter, which is crazy. Thank you guys so much for everybody who follows me on Twitter. Make sure to go and follow myself and everybody else. Guys, feel free to put your Twitter handles in the chat. But that's all we got time for today. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.